Imagine a couple that seems to have it all. They are both professionals with steady careers. She earns $62,000 a year in marketing. He makes $71,000 in technical support. Their combined income is over $130,000. This puts them in the top 25% of American households. On paper, they should be building wealth and feeling secure. But the reality behind their front door is very different. They are stressed and living paycheck to paycheck. When their car needed a repair last month, they had to use a credit card. They rarely see each other during the week except for a few tired hours. They did everything right by getting degrees and buying a home. So why does it feel like they are constantly drowning? If you earn a high income but feel broke, this will make sense soon. We have been sold a story that two incomes are always better than one. It seems mathematically obvious that more money equals more security. But what actually happened is a massive financial bait and switch. This phenomenon is known as the two-income trap. It was first identified by studying thousands of families who went bankrupt. Researchers found that having two incomes actually made families more vulnerable. Working twice as hard often makes you more likely to lose everything. This is not a personal failure, but a systemic trap. To understand why, we must look back to the year 1970. In those days, the typical middle-class family had one primary earner. That single income was enough to afford a median-priced home. They could afford public schools and basic health care with ease. Most importantly, they had a financial margin and breathing room. The stay-at-home parent acted as an emergency insurance policy. If the breadwinner lost their job, the other parent could enter the workforce. Now let us fast forward to our current reality. The two-income household has become the mandatory norm. In over 60% of married couples, both parents work full-time. We have activated the emergency backup plan as the default mode. Median household income is higher now than it was 50 years ago. However, the cost of basic necessities has exploded. Housing costs have doubled relative to the rate of inflation. Healthcare spending per household has increased by 600%. Childcare now costs the average family over $11,000 per child. In expensive cities, that number can reach $30,000 annually. The fixed costs of being middle class have consumed every extra dollar. The modern family has less security than a single-income family from the past. They have burned their backup plan just to keep up with basic expenses. Let us look at what actually happens to that second income. Imagine one partner earns $70,000 and the other earns $50,000. That total of $120,000 feels like a lot. But let us follow the path of that $50,000 second salary. First, the government takes its share through progressive taxes. The second income is often taxed at a much higher marginal rate. After federal and state taxes, that $50,000 becomes $34,000. Then you must pay for childcare so you can actually go to work. Average daycare costs can easily take $15,000 per year. Now your second income has dropped to $19,000. Two working parents also means paying for two separate commutes. Between gas and car maintenance, you might spend $5,000. Now you are left with only $14,000 for the entire year. But we have not yet considered the cost of your exhaustion. Two exhausted parents have less energy for cooking and cleaning. Dual-income families spend significantly more on convenience services. They order more delivery and pay for house cleaning or lawn care. These exhaustion expenses can easily cost $10,000 a year. When you add it all up, the net contribution is almost zero. That second person is working 40 hours a week for almost nothing. They are missing family dinners and grinding through traffic for tiny gains. This is the psychological trap because the gross numbers look big. You make spending decisions based on the total combined income. You buy a house that requires two salaries to pay the mortgage. The bank tells you that you can afford a massive loan, and you can as long as both people keep working forever. The trap snaps shut when life inevitably happens. If one person gets sick or laid off, the family collapses. There is no longer a backup plan to activate. The single-income family of the past was resilient to shocks. The dual-income family of today is like a car running without oil. Everything works fine until one small part breaks down. Then the entire engine seized up and everything fails at once. This explains why nearly half of adults cannot cover a small emergency. They are not broke because they do not earn enough money. They are broke because their expenses expanded to consume every cent. This happened because of a bidding war for the middle-class life. When two incomes became the norm, people competed for the same houses. If everyone has more money, then the price of housing just goes up. Suddenly, you need two incomes just to buy what one used to afford. It is an arms race where everyone worked harder, but nobody won. The same thing happened with access to good school districts. Parents used their two incomes to outbid each other for homes. The price of a good education became a massive mortgage payment. Once you are locked into that payment, you can never go back. You might feel like you need both incomes just to survive, and that is exactly why it is called a trap. You need both salaries to support the life you build around them. But there is a mindset shift that can change your future. You must start treating the second income as if it were temporary. Most families treat both incomes as permanent and guaranteed. They buy the biggest house and the newest cars they can qualify for. Then they are stuck in a cycle of never-ending work. The alternative approach is to build a one-income foundation. Structure your non-negotiable expenses so one salary covers them. The second income then becomes entirely discretionary. You can use it for savings and paying off debt or investing. The critical difference is that you could survive without it. You would have the margin that modern families have lost. If you earn $130,000 combined, stay humble. Take on a mortgage that could be covered by only $60,000. Instead of 2 car payments, try to have only one or none. Live in a neighborhood that is good but not elite. This requires a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. It means ignoring the social pressure to spend like everyone else. But the payoff of this strategy is truly magical. Within a decade, the investments from that second income grow. Compounding interest begins to take over the heavy lifting. Suddenly, you have the genuine security you always wanted. You are no longer 2 job losses away from a total crisis. You can make decisions based on what is best for your family. You gain the flexibility to take risks or handle a health crisis. Our grandparents had something that we have traded away. They had the ability to absorb a shock and change direction. We traded that flexibility for bigger houses and nicer cars. But appearances of prosperity are not the same as actual wealth. Cash flow is not security if every dollar is spent before it arrives. The families who thrive are not always the ones who earn the most. They are the ones who preserve their flexibility and margin. They refuse to let their expenses consume their entire lives. They kept their backup plan in reserve instead of spending it. You can earn your way into a trap without even knowing it. But now you understand the mechanics of how it works. True wealth is not about how much you make each month. It is about how much of your life you actually own. Take a look at your finances and look for the exit. The question is what you are going to do with this knowledge. Focus on building a foundation that can stand on its own. Your future self will thank you for the freedom you create today. Thank you for listening and stay focused on your goals. Make sure to protect your margin and stay out of the trap.